Hi everyone, Sharabin here, and this is the final part of my Pokemon Black and White rewrite, the finale part 2. I really hope you're looking forward to this, and without further ado, let's dive in. The following day, they announced every single person who would on from their group battles and now in the final tournament. With Ash, Hilbert, and Misty being free amongst them, the screen then started showing off the next matchup, and the battlefield is just gonna be a standard Pokemon battlefield. First is Ash, who's going to battle Sabrina in a single battle. Next is Misty, who's gonna take on Winona in a triple battle. Lastly, it's revealed that Hilbert is gonna be taking on Iris in a double battle. Hilbert is getting a bit nervous seeing that Iris won the Unova League and he was actually able to defeat Ash. However, he's gonna give it everything he has. And then the battle begins, and first up is Ash versus Sabrina. As the two look at each other, Sabrina smiles, saying that he's happy to see Ash again, and she's been looking forward to them having a rematch. Ash said that he and Jota decided to see, and with that out of the way, the battle begins, and first up is Alakazam versus Corphish. Ash immediately recognized Alakazam at the same Kadabra he battled those years ago, and with that, the battle immediately began. Alakazam started off by firing off a Shadow Ball as Corphish countered it with a Bubble Beam. They seemed to be even, but then Corphish rushed in with a Metal Claw, but Alakazam avoided it with Teleport. He then appeared behind Corphish and used another Shadow Ball, which was able to land. Ash then had Corphish shot in with a Crab Hammer, but Alakazam used Teleport again and then used his Psychic to lift Corphish into the air before slamming it into the ground. Seeing that, Ash realizes that Sabrina is planning on using Teleport to avoid Corphish's attack before striking with heavy hits. But then Ash smiled. He then had Corphish shot in with another Crab Hammer, but as Alakazam dodged it, he had Corphish start spinning around, letting loose a Bubble Beam. So when Alakazam reappears, it gets hit by the bubble and is unable to fire off an attack. Using the opportunity, Ash had Corphish charging straight in and striking Alakazam hard with a Night Slash. The attack struck Alakazam hard, which forced it back. Alakazam is able to get up again, and Sabrina called on a Focus Blast. As the attack soared toward Corphish, Ash tried to have Corphish use Bubble Beam to counter it, but the Focus Blast is too strong and it slammed into Corphish. Sabrina then had Alakazam fire off a Shadow Ball, but Corphish is able to get up and is able to get out of the way. After that, Corphish fired off another Bubble Beam, but Alakazam used the Teleport this time and appeared above the battlefield and using Psychic keeping itself afloat. Seeing this, after Corphish fired off a Bubble Beam again, but Alakazam quickly teleported out of the way. Corphish continued to use Bubble Beam in order to hit Alakazam, but he quickly teleported away this time around. And unlike last time, it can even teleport up in the air, so it won't be able to sweep around with Bubble Beam all over the place. So, I need to come up with something different. But after looking around for a bit, he noticed something. It is a tiny gap, but it should be enough. So with that, I'd have Corphish use a Bubble Beam, and eventually Alakazam is about to appear close to the ground, but that's when Ash had Corphish grab onto Alakazam's mustache with his pincers. Right as Alakazam appears, which shocks Sabrina. She tried to have Alakazam throw it away with a Psychic, but Corphish held on tight. Taking that opportunity, Ash had Corphish use some Metal Claw, which knocked back Alakazam's boots. Before then, it delivers a powerful Crab Hammer uppercut which forces Alakazam back before it strikes with a Night Slash. And that attack is enough to knock out Alakazam, meaning Ash had gotten to take the early lead. Sabrina returned to Alakazam, saying that he's impressed with Ash's battle style, but saying that they are not done yet. With that, Sabrina sent in her second Pokemon, Espeon. Ash had Corphish charging in straight with the Night Slash again, but this time Espeon fired off in Hyper Voice, which hits Corphish and causes it to cover his ear. Taking that opportunity, Sabrina tells Espeon to fire off a Side Shock, which launches at it, which hits Corphish hard and is enough to knock it out. Returning Corphish, telling it did a great job, but then he sent in his next Pokemon, Donphan. Ash had Donphan starting out quickly and go in for the defense curve before falling out with a rollout. Espeon using his agility to avoid it, but the rollout continued to chase it, and Espeon countered with an Iron Tail, ending in a stalemate. Donphan then used the Earthquake, which shakes the entire stadium, and before it ended in a Hyper Voice, which strikes Donphan. The matchup seemed to be even back and forth. Donphan continued to slam it with Rollout and Earthquake, as Espeon is able to countering it with Iron Tail, Side Shock, and Hyper Voices. Sabrina believes that Ash's strategy is mainly to go on the offensive all the time with Donphan, but Ash tells Donphan to hold on and that the opportunity will come soon. Eventually, Sabrina noticed that Espeon had gotten tired, contemplating on switching, but as she's about to reach for its Pokeball, Ash smiles and tells Donphan it's time for Stealth Rocks. And so, Donphan lands a front leg into the ground, creating a bunch of rocks that appear all over the battlefield before they disappear. Seeing this, Sabrina knows that she no longer can switch peacefully. Even if Espeon gets on track to rest, the rock is just gonna harm it when it gets back in, meaning that Donphan needs to be defeated here and now with Espeon. And so, Sabrina decided to call on Espeon's final move, Future Sight. As the attack is launched out of the air, Ash knows that the attack is gonna hit soon. So Ash tells Donphan to go into rollout to try to take out Espeon as quick as he can. Sabrina on the end decides to have Espeon try to avoid the attack as much as he can, wanting to stall out as long as he could before Future Sight struck. But eventually, Donphan had built up so much speed and momentum that he able to barrel right toward Espeon when he had nowhere left to run. Seeing no other option, Sabrina called on a hyper voice, and the Blood Soundwave hit the rolling elephant, but eventually Donphan is able to push through and strike Espeon and defeat it. Meaning now, Sabrina is down to her last Pokemon. As seeing that Donphan is tired, she decided it's time to switch, but just then, pour a bit above it and strikes Donphan, and I realized that Future Sight happened, and when the attack ends, Donphan is unable to battle. Meaning, in a surprise twist, the final matchup is now back to a one-on-one. Ash returned Donphan, telling it did a great job, and is surprised that Espeon Future Sight was able to strike just at that moment. As they returned their Pokemon, Sabrina commented that Ash has done great so far, and Ash doing the same to her. But then Sabrina smiled, saying that since this is a battle against Ash, she believed it's time to reunite with another old friend, before casting out her Pokemon into the air, and out of it appears Gengar. The Gengar, upon seeing Ash, starts floating around him, and Ash realizes that this is his old pal Haunter from all those years ago. Ash is excited to meet Gengar once again, and Gengar is just as excited to see Ash. With that, Ash decided, remembering how much of a prank the Haunter was, decided to sending out a prank of his own, and with that, he calls upon the tricky fox himself, Zoroark. The battle immediately begins as Gengar goes with Slush Bomb, as Zoroark uses Dark Pulse. Their moves collide evenly, and then Zoroark charges in with Shadow Claw, but Gengar is able to use a Foul Play to take it before delivering some heavy damage back. Gengar then goes for the Shadow Ball, but Zoroark uses a Night Daze, which defeats the Shadow Ball and strikes Gengar hard. Ash about to Zoroark to go for another Night Daze, but then Sabrina calls on Torment. As Gengar launches the attack, Zoroark is no longer able to use the same attack twice. This infuriates Ash for a bit, but decides that he's going to use some of Zoroark's natural ability before calling for a U-turn. As the move hits Gengar, Zoroark flies all the way back to Ash out of the field, but when it lands, it suddenly engulfs itself in a dark aura before it spins towards Gengar. All of a sudden, Gengar sees itself in a cave, but in front of it is another Gengar. Surprised by it, Gengar gets way to it and the illusion waves back, but when it tries to get close, the illusion smirks and strikes it with a Shadow Claw. Surprised by this, but then the illusion starts to laugh and reveals to be Zoroark itself. That the entire battlefield has now been engulfed in an illusion of Zoroark. Using that to his advantage, Zoroark is able to deliver some heavy hits on Gengar, or as Gengar eventually realizing it, using its illusion nature to avoid most of those attacks, and is able to eventually hit enough so Zoroark drops the illusion. With that, both of them decide it's time to end it before they launch their final move of Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse. Their moves collide in the middle, giving it their all, but in the end, Dark Pulse wins and it strikes Gengar, knocking it out. And in a comment gesture, it actually holds up a voice back, indicating that it's out of the match, meaning Ash has moved on and moves over to the top 8. With that, Ash and Zoroark approaches Gengar, as Gengar gives Ash a comedic smile before giving Ash a fake explosive which blows up in his face. With that, Ash, Zoroark, Sabrina, and Gengar can help but to laugh at the comedic gesture. After that, it was time for Misty to have her next battle against Winona in a triple battle. Winona started out by sending in her 3 Pokemon, Altaria, Pelipper, and Swallow. Misty smiled and went to send out her Pokemon, Politoed, Corsola, but before she could send out her third, all of a sudden, Psyduck appeared. Misty was so shocked, she didn't have time to register it, but by the time she was trying to get it back to the Pokeball, Psyduck was already confirmed to be one of her Pokemon, so unfortunately, he's no longer allowed to switch it out unless he was to forfeit it. Seeing the distraught look on Misty's face, Winona thinks that Misty must have made a mistake, so she decides to have her Pokemon starting in a Psyduck right away. So Altaria goes in with Sky Attack, Pelipper with Steel Wing, and Swallow with Aerial Ace. Misty then had Politoed use a Hydro Pump, and Corsola to use Spike Cannon, trying to have them keep Winona Pokemon at bay and trying to get Psyduck to actually attack. Unfortunately, Psyduck did not do anything. However, unfortunately, being mostly a 2-on-1 style, Politoed and Corsola cannot keep an eye on all 3 of Winona's Pokemon altogether. So just then, while Pelipper and Politoed has a Hydro Bomb clash, and Corsolas Bubble Beam is classic with Altoria's Dragon Breath, Swallow is able to rush in and strike Psyduck with Air Lace. Politoed tries to jump in with a Mega Punch, but Pelipper just goes in with Quick Attack before striking with a Pluck. Corsola tries to fire off a Spike Cannon on Swallow, but Altoria takes it with a Cotton Guard. Swallow then starts using Peck on Psyduck and hitting in the head, causing it to getting hurt. However, that little attack seemed to have woken Psyduck up a bit, so when Misty called to Psyduck to use Screech, it actually does so, forcing Swallow to fall back. Decided to try to go for Water Gun, Psyduck does so, but Swallow is able to catch itself and get out of the way before launching a Hyper Beam, which hits Psyduck hard. Politoed, of course, Beam gets some heavy damage, so when Altaria goes in for Dragon Breath on Corsola, he uses Miracle to reflect his back before trying to jump to help Psyduck. But then Pelipper swoops in with another Steel Wing, which knocks Corsola back. Politoed is about to charge up a Focus Blast, but then Altaria comes back in and takes it before using Roost to get some health back. Then Swallow quickly rushes in with an Air Lace, and Psyduck not be able to dodge it, and get them bombarded by a barrage of pecks. Misty get a bit worried about Psyduck, but then you notice something. Psyduck's headache is getting worse. Eventually, Psyduck's eyes just sharpen open, and Misty knows what happened, and she calls on Psychic. Psyduck's sending a massive wave of psychic energy which slides into Swallow hard. Before he then causes Altaria and Pelipper to get hit by it as well, before all three of them are knocked into the wall. And when they emerge, they are all in a pile when they are all unconscious. Everyone in the stadium is shocked, seeing how such a Pokemon that seemingly couldn't do anything actually could take out 3 Pokemon in one blow. Misty goes out to hug Psyduck, and Misty is officially declared the winner of this battle, and Winona is simply shocked, but also fascinated by Psyduck's power. A couple of more battles took place, and finally it was time for Hilbert to have his next mix-up against Iris. Hilbert is a bit nervous, but he's sure that his Pokemon will have strength to push through. So with that, both trainers send out their Pokemon, with Iris going with Dragonite and Haxorus, while Hilbert goes in with Braviary and Emboar. The two sides look on to each other, ready to push through with all their might. And with that, they begin, and Braviary goes in with Crush Claw, while Emboar goes in with Hammer Arm. At the same time, Iris have Haxorus use a Rock Slide, while Dragonite uses Flamethrower. Braviary is able to avoid the fire, and is able to land the attack on Dragonite, while Emboar is able to destroy the rocks before striking Haxorus. But then, Iris have Dragonite fire off an Ice Beam, and Haxorus using Dragon Pulse. Hilbert tried to have his Pokemon dodge, but being so close of range allows them to get hit, which forces them back. Not giving it yet, Hilbert have Braviary fly high in the air, with Dragonite closely following. Then Hilbert have Braviary going with Air Lace, as Dragonite counters with Thunder Punch. The two have an aerial clash. At the same time, Iris have Haxorus go in for another Rock Slide, but Hilbert have Emboar using as Jordan to destroy the rock and striking. Just then, Iris have Haxorus charging in with a Giga Impact, while Emboar countering it with a Heat Crash. The two moves collide with one another. At the same time, Braviary goes for Superpower as Dragonite uses Dragon Rush. The move is a full-on head clash, forcing all 4 Pokemon backwards. Hilbert tries to have Emboar use a Flamethrower. However, Dragonite counters it with his own Flamethrower before Haxorus using another Rock Slide, which causes it to strike both Braviary and Emboar. The two of them are able to push through, however, and Emboar goes in for a Hammer Arm to aim at Dragonite's wings. Dragonite is able to avoid the first swing, but the second one is delayed, and Dragonite's wings seems to be weakened. At the same time, Braviary goes in for Steel Wing, but Haxorus is able to dodge it before striking with a Dragon Pulse, forcing it back. Dragonite then goes in for a Dragon Rush on Emboar, and while Emboar tries to avoid, it's unfortunately not fast enough and it gets hit, but then Braviary gets in with an Air Lace Steel Wing combination who strikes Haxorus. Being so neck and neck, both of them have their Pokemon attacked with power moves, but eventually all of their Pokemon are getting exhausted. Iris smiles, telling Hilbert that he's doing great and he's really enjoying this battle. Hilbert smiles as well, saying that he's enjoying this battle just as much, but it's now time to finish it. With that, the two decide to call their Pokemon to unleash their final move. For Hilbert, he have Emboar charge in with Heat Crash and Braviary to swoop in with Superpower. On the other side, Iris have Haxorus let loose an Outrage, while Dragonite goes in with Dragon Rush. The 4 moves towards one another, and Braviary and Dragonite have a clash in the air, while Haxorus and Emboar have a clash on the ground. The two of them clashes hard, pushing each other back and forth. But in the end, Haxorus Ferocity is able to outmatch Ember, which forces it to the ground, and Dragonite's sheer size allows it to outpower Braviary and knock it to the ground as well. And when the dust clears, both Braviary and Ember are lying there defeated, meaning Iris moves on and Hilbert has lost. Hilbert goes up to the two Pokemon, complimenting them on a battle well fought, and really happy that they fought as hard as they did. Iris complimented her own Pokemon and then congratulates Hilbert on a battle well fought. Hilbert smiles, and Iris then promises Hilbert that next time they meet, they will have a rematch. Hilbert is excited about that and thinks that next time he will win. The two of them they shake hands as the following rounds continue. Once Hilbert meets up with Ash, Misty, and Hilda once again, they compliment him on a battle well fought, and Hilbert tells Ash and Misty to continue the battle hard. But just then, the two of them look for their next opponents, but gasp when they realize that their next opponent is each other. As the two look at each other, Ash and Misty knows that this battle is gonna be a tough one, seeing that the two know each other very well, but they are also excited to battle each other on a big stage. The two of them smile at each other, telling each other to do a well job, and may the best trainer win. The following night, Ash is out training with his Pokemon, but then Misty shows up wanting to talk to him. She explains that he is looking forward to battling him, and Ash explains that he feels the same, and Misty points out that now they can finally settle the score. Ash being a bit confused by what she means, Misty points out that they have only had 3 official battles. The battle in the Cerulean Gym that was interrupted by Team Rocket, the battle who gonna get Totodile which Ash won, and the battle during the World Cup where Misty won. Seeing that one of those battles was never completed, that means they have both won and lost the battle each. So now Misty looks forward that she can finally prove to Ash that she is the better trainer. But Ash said that he's going to prove to Misty that he's the better one. So with that, the following morning, it's finally time for the two of them to have their battle, and it's gonna be a full 6-on-6 battle. They start by sending out their first Pokemon, Politoed and Servine. The two look at each other, ready to give it their all, and when the battle begins, Misty goes in with Mega Punch, as Servine started off with Leaf Blade. The two attacks collide and seem to be dead even, but then Politoed decides to start off with a bounce. Politoed is able to jump high in the air, but Ash has Servine use a Leaf Tornado to disorient it, but Politoed is able to feather it and strikes Servine. Then Politoed starts to fire off the Hydro Pump, as Servine tries to counter it with Leaf Blade, but it gets too much pressure and pushes Servine back. Politoed then fires away a Focus Blast, but Servine leaps over it and strikes Politoed with a knockoff. It seems to be a back and forth, as Misty goes in for another flurry of Mega Punches. Servine does his best to avoid skillfully, but eventually Politoed is able to land an attack, forcing Servine back. Misty thinks he had the edge, decides to have Politoed jump up with another bounce, but as Politoed starts to come down, Ash tells Servine it's time to use Attract. Misty calls up by it, thinking that Ash is not the kind of trainer that would ever go for Attract. However, the Attract manages to land, and Politoed immediately is getting infatuated, which allows Servine to land a Leaf Blade, followed by a Leaf Tornado, and takes down Politoed. Being reminded that this is Ash's battling, he knows that she's gonna have to give it his all, because Ash is not going to be playing around. So next, she sends in Stormy, and immediately goes for Thunderbolt, but Servine is able to quickly dodge it before landing a knockoff. However, that is what Misty wanted, so Stormy is able to fire off an Hydro Pump, which pushes Servine back, before it launches an Ice Beam, and being somewhat covered in water, the Ice Beam has far greater effect, and Servine gets severely hurt. Ash attempts to swap it out, but Stormy uses Psychic, which lifts Servine into the air before slamming it to the ground, where he lays unconscious. Being down to a 1-on-1, Ash decides to send in his next Pokemon, Kingler. Stormy immediately goes for a Thunderbolt, but Ash tells Kingler to fire off a Mud Shot. The Mud Shot connects with the electricity, cancelling it out, before Kingler rushes in and is able to capture Stormy with a Vice Grip. Stormy attempts to use another Thunderbolt, but Ash had Kingler slam it to the ground with Superpower before using its big claw to strike him with a Crab Hammer. Stormy is incredibly weakened, and as Misty attempts to call for a Psychic, Ash had Kingler use Mud Shot, which hits it in the gem before another Crab Hammer forces Stormy back. Kingler seems to be in complete control of this one, so Misty decides she's gonna switch out Stormy and next send in Meryl. After that, Kingler uses a Vice Grip, but Misty had Meryl use his bounce, Misty is able to jump out of the way quickly and strike Kingler before he had the chance to react. Kingler tries to fight back with Crab Hammer and Superpowers, however Meryl is far too quick and is able to launch a couple of Icy Wings up close. even slowing down Kingler even more. Eventually, they meet in a head-to-head clash with Aqua Tail and Crabhammer. However, being weakened for several pounds and Iron the Wind and being slower allows Meryl to land the attack first, which is enough to take down Kingler. Being 2 Pokemon down already, I decide it's finally time, and then he's in Pikachu. Misty expected that Pikachu was going to make an appearance sooner or later, so now she's not going to hold anything back. It immediately calls on a Rain Dance. The attack immediately causes the rain to fall on the battlefield. Knowing that Water move is going to be superpowered, Misty immediately calls for an Aqua Tail. I attack Pikachu immediately countering it with an Iron Tail, but the water from the rain definitely shows the power. Meryl immediately goes for another volley of bounces, but Pikachu quick attack allowed her to get away before launching a Thunderbolt which hit it hard. Iron Tail and Aqua Tail then meet once again, but just like before, Aqua Tail wins out. Realizing that he can continue like this, Ash come up with a new strategy. As Misty attempts to use another Aqua Tail to finish Pikachu off quickly, Ash had Pikachu combine Electro Ball with Iron Tail. So when the moves collide, it's Meryl who takes the full blow and is immediately knocked out. Misty gasped for a bit, but knowing that this is Pikachu she's seeing, note that this is gonna be hard. So she then has to send back in Starmie before using Psychic to hold Pikachu in place. Pikachu tried to get away, but Starmie immediately fired off a Hydro Pump which knocked Pikachu to the ground. I tried that Pikachu launched another Thunderbolt, but Starmie countered it with his own, cancelling each other out. As Pikachu tried to go in for quick attack, Starmie countering it with a Psychic again, which forced Pikachu up in the air again. Ash tried to use another Thunderbolt, but Starmie once again cancelled it out. Ash, knowing that he can't continue like this, realized that he had to do something. But then he noticed something. While Pikachu's main body is not moving, Pikachu's tail is still working. So I tell Pikachu to launch an Electro Ball, and Pikachu switched tail, sending the electric sphere towards Starmie, but Misty has Starmie countering it with a Thunderbolt. But then I have Pikachu's Thunderbolt on its own, and the 2 electric bolts strike the Electro Ball, on seeing try to push it back and forth. But in the end, Pikachu's natural born electricity is too much, and it pushes the electric orb towards Starmie, and being supercharged by 2 electrical Thunderbolts, it's too powerful and Starmie is taken down. I decided to weak Pikachu out for a bit. It decided to give her a bit of a break. And next, they sent out their next 2 Pokemon, Corsola and Gliscor. Misty a bit surprised that I'm gonna send in a ground type against the water type, especially with the rain still up. Misty immediately started by calling on a Ball Beam, however Gliscor quickly swooped out of her way before launching a Bulldoze. The attack shakes the battleground and strikes Corsola doing severe damage. While it may be a water type, it is also a rock type. Gliscor then immediately goes in for an Acrobatics which strikes Corsola hard, as Misty does that Corsola gets some health back with Recover. Gliscor then launches away a Stone Edge, as Corsola countering with a Spike Cannon. The moves seem to be even, but as Corsola goes for another Bubble Beam, actually Gliscor quickly glides out of the way before launching another Acrobatics with Strikes. Meryl's about to launch another Bubble Beam, however Gliscor quickly lashes out to Corsola from behind. I smiled and then tells Gliscor to launch a Fire Fang. While it's not as effective, it's able to land, and Corsola not be able to move much is for to take it. Major tried that Corsola used a Spike Cannon to get Gliscor off it, but I then tell Gliscor to lift Corsola into the air before throwing it. Gliscor does so, but then Spike Cannon launches towards it, hitting it, but Corsola is currently up in the air, and so Gliscor glides up for it before slamming it down with the tail, and when Corsola strikes the ground, Gliscor activates another Bulldoze. And being completely in the center of it, Corsola is forced to take the entire damage, and in the end, it falls. Meaning, Ash still has 4 Pokemon, while Misty only has 2. But Misty smiled, saying that she has decided to save her 2 heaviest hitters for last. With that, he sent in her 5th Pokemon, Kingdra. Ash is surprised seeing her with a Kingdra, but Misty explained that this Kingdra is actually the very same Horsey she caught all those years ago. Ash is surprised seeing Horsey again, seeing that he has been so long since last time. However, when Gliscor tries to go for an Acrobatics, Kingdra quickly dodges it, surprising Ash, but then he realizes that Kingdra must have the ability Swift Swim. Not waiting for a response, Misty and Kingdra launches a Scald which hits Gliscor, even burning it. Ash not wanting to go down just yet, tells Gliscor to launch another Bulldoze. However, Kingdra gets away before going in for a dive. Appearing right behind Gliscor is strikes, and as Gliscor tries to fire off another Stone Edge, Kingdra fires off a Dragon Breath, which hit Gliscor, knocking it to the ground, where it now lays defeated. It is now down to a 3-2, but Kingdra is definitely strong. So with that, Ash sent in his next Pokemon, Volcarona. Misty is surprised by it, but then Ash smiled, telling Volcarona it's time to use Sunny Day. The attack immediately catches Misty off guard. Seeing now that there are sun here in the rain, Kingdra is far slower and water type moves is weakened. Misty is not allowed to stop her. She tells Kingdra to launch a Dragon Breath as Volcarona uses a Bug Buzz. The moves are completely even, but when Misty goes for Scald, Ash countering it with a Fiery Dance, which not only evaporates the water, but ends up striking Kingdra. Misty tries to have Kingdra go for a flurry of dives, which is able to hit Volcarona for a while, but eventually it's able to time a Bug Buzz which destroys Kingdra, allowing a Fire Dance to land. Kingdra tries to fire up a Flash Cannon, but Ash and Volcarona quickly dodging it, and at this point, Kingdra is getting exhausted. Misty takes Kingdra to launch everything he had into a Scald, but Ash then smiles until it's time to use Solar Beam. Volcarona fires the green beam of grass energy, and as the move collides, the Scald is immediately defeated, and the Solar Beam lands, knocking out Kingdra. With that, Misty is now down to only one Pokemon, while Ash still has 3, while only 2 are battled just yet. But with that, Misty sends in her final Pokemon, Gyarados. Knowing that Gyarados has the power to take out any of Ash's Pokemon. Ash immediately has Volcarona charge up another Solar Beam. However, Misty counters it with a Flamethrower. As the fire also boosts Gyarados' power, the moves collide, ending in a draw. Gyarados then immediately goes for a Hydro Pump, so Volcarona dodging it before launching a Fiery Dance. However, Misty had Gyarados using Hydro Pump, which evaporates the flame. Then Gyarados launches a Hurricane, which traps Volcarona, and while he tries to use Bug Buzz, Gyarados launches a Flamethrower into it, creating a fiery vortex. And then even at that close range, Volcarona cannot take it, and is taken down. With that, action in his next Pokemon, Pikachu, and Misty smiles, knowing that Pikachu was gonna come out eventually. Not deciding to give a break, Misty immediately launches a Flamethrower while Pikachu counters with a Thunderbolt. Gyarados immediately goes in for a crunch, but Pikachu uses a quick attack to get it away before going out Gyarados' body to go for an Iron Tail. While it lands, Gyarados is able to get back up before launching a Hydro Pump which hits Pikachu, but because of the sun, it doesn't take too much damage. Pikachu launches another Electro Ball, but Misty and Gyarados use a Hydro Pump to counter it before trying to trap Pikachu with a Hurricane. Pikachu used a quick attack to get it away though, however that allows Gyarados to get in close and makes a crunch. Having Pikachu in his jaw, Ash tries to launch a Thunderbolt, but Misty launches Pikachu away with a Flamethrower. Both attacks successfully land, but Pikachu has come up worth aware. As Pikachu tries to launch an Electro Ball, Gyarados uses Hurricane to block the attack, before launching the Electro Ball back at Pikachu with the added power of Hurricane, which severely weakens it, allowing Gyarados to launch a Flamethrower, knocking Pikachu down. With that, Ash is down to his last Pokemon. Misty smiles, thinking that she now has the battle in the bag. With Pikachu gone, none of Ash's other Pokemon will have the power to take down Gyarados. But Ash smiles, telling Misty that he should not be too confident. And with that, Ash sends in his final Pokemon, Bulbasaur. Misty is surprised seeing Ash using Bulbasaur instead of another grass type like Baby. Ash simply smiles, telling Misty that he knows that Bulbasaur has the power to push through. Misty decided not to take a chance, tells Gyarados to fire off a Flamethrower, but Bulbasaur quickly dodges out of the way before launching a Power Whip which hit Gyarados in the face. Misty tries that Gyarados going for a crunch, but Ash had Bulbasaur launch a Slush Bomb right in Gyarados' face. As Gyarados launches a Hydro Pump, Bulbasaur is able to quickly get away and launching another Power Whip. This time, however, Gyarados uses a crunch to catch it before flinging Bulbasaur up in the air. Misty thinks he has seen the bag now, but then Ash smiles, telling Bulbasaur to fire off the Leash Seed. The seed strikes Gyarados and starts to drain of his energy. Misty, knowing that she doesn't have much time, tries to Gyarados going for Flamethrower, but Ash and Bulbasaur dodge it. However, the flame is able to move too quickly and strikes Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is able to get back up, but Misty tells it's time to call on a Hurricane. As Gyarados is able to hit Bulbasaur, it's being trapped in Hurricane, but Ash has Bulbasaur using Power Whip to latch onto the ground. With the sun still burning brightly, Ash tells Bulbasaur it's time to launch Solar Beam. Bulbasaur immediately starts to store up energy in its ball, but seeing this, Misty and Gyarados uses a Flamethrower on the Hurricane, creating a flaming vortex again. However, Ash does not allow it and tells Bulbasaur to let go. With that, Bulbasaur finds to leave the ground, and spreading his arms and legs, Bulbasaur starts to fly up the Hurricane. As the flames start to slowly engulf it, Bulbasaur is able to move faster, flying high above the Hurricane. But seeing this, Misty tries to Gyarados launch another Flamethrower, but Bulbasaur launches a Solar Beam. The moves are about to collide, but just then, the sun goes out. As Flameflower returned to his regular strength, Solar Beam had all the sort of power it already had. So it's able to pierce through the flames, striking Gyarados straight in the face. And with the Leaf Ray still draining it, it falls as well. Meaning Bulbasaur still stands and Ash has won and moves on to the top 4. Misty sighs in disappointment. Sad she was not able to beat Ash, but happy that she was able to do her best. The two of them smile and congratulate each other, with Misty telling Ash that he better win the entire thing, with Ash promising that he will. Ash and Misty reunite with Hilbert and Hill again, as the two compliment them on a battle well fought and on Ash on winning. Ash thanks them, but then they notice that Iris' battle is not going on, and they rush over to see her battle. Oh, but they are surprised to see someone they are not familiar with. Apparently someone named Silver from the Johto region. But as they fought the battle, they know that he's not an ordinary trainer because he is completely merciless. His battle style is brutal, as he uses his Weavile to take down Archeop, Druddigon, and Dragonite relatively easily. This last one especially surprised Hilbert since he lost to Dragonite in the last battle. Then Silver rotates into his Nidoking, which is able to take down Aggron, before he finally sent in Feraligatr, who completely decimated Hydreigon and Haxorus, meaning Silver defeated Iris without losing a single Pokemon. This shocked the group, seeing that Silver somehow had the power to defeat Iris, who won the Unova League. They are especially shocked, however, when it reveals that Ash's next opponent is Silver himself. Knowing that he's gonna have to face a tough opponent, Ash decided it's time to do some little research. As he went through that, he learned that Silver had taken part in several leagues just like him, and had gathered a team of very diverse and very powerful Pokemon. So Ash started to think about the Pokemon he's going to bring into the battle, but as he walks around to do some thinking, he actually runs into Silver, where the two of them actually have quite the unique talk. So, you're Ash Ketchum, huh? I expected something more. I'm sorry, but I don't think we met before. That is because we have not. However, I'm quite familiar with you already. After all, it's not everyone you meet someone who has consistently been a thorn in Team Rocket's side. How do you know that? Let's just say I am also someone who had a problem with Team Rocket. Call it my personal mission, if you will. However, during my time thrashing Team Rocket's operation, a particular trainer's name came to mind. A trainer from Palatown with a single Pikachu on his shoulder. Sound familiar? Okay, so you are against Team Rocket. But what does this have to do with me? I don't really expect anything from you. My mission is to take down Team Rocket. Plain and simple. I'm not asking for any help. But the fact that you have been getting Team Rocket's way so many times, it's interesting. That is why I want to see if you really have what it takes. Or if you just got lucky. What do you mean lucky? Team Rocket were bad guys, and now you stopped them from doing bad things. There's nothing else to it. Pretty simple way to put it, I guess. But I just want to make sure that anyone turning out Team Rocket would actually have the power to back it up. So let's just see if you can actually do it tomorrow. If you're not, then I suggest you just stay out of my way. Hey, for your information, I don't get me personally. It's just that they continue to follow me around. What does it matter if I battle Team Rocket or not anyway? What does it matter to you? Like I said, it's personal business. I don't expect you to understand. Let's just say, let's hope you never find out the truth. But I do hope you can at least provide me with some form of challenge. Otherwise, winning this entire thing is gonna be so boring. And with that, Silver leaves, leaving Ash more confused than ever. What does he mean by getting in his way or personal business? While Ash doesn't know what Silver means, he knows that Silver is going to give his all in this match. So Ash is gonna have to do the same here. The following day, Ash and Silver meet up at the stadium, prepared to take on each other in the semi-finals. Silver gave Ash a confident smirk, feeling confident in his power to win. So with that, the two of them send out their first Pokemon in Darmanitan and Muk. A bit confused by the choice, just wait time and tell the man to go in with a Fire Punch. When they get in close, Muk absorbs the damage before Ash tells Muk to launch its own Fire Punch. The attack hits, but it does not do much. Silver just smirked, feeling that Ash must be overconfident. Using a fire move on a fire type is not a good idea. Darmanitan just jumps back and fires off a hidden power as Ash counters it with a Sludge Wave. The wave strikes the hidden power, creating a draw. Then Silver launches Darmanitan in with a Hammer Arm, but Muk takes it before using a Body Slam, covering Darmanitan's entire body in sludge. Seeing this, Silver has Darmanitan use a Flare Blade, able to burst out from under Muk, launching it to the ground. As Darmanitan is able to kill Muk, Muk is able to eventually rise to his feet, as Silver has Darmanitan launch another Fire Punch. But as the punch getting close, At tells Muk it's time to use Toxic. Much launches the Toxic or towards it and strikes Darmanitan, poisoning it badly. Silver is a bit surprised to see Ash using such a move before Ash Muk to launch another Sludge Wave. The move hits, causing Darmanitan even more pain. Seeing that he needs to end it quickly, tells Darmanitan to launch another Fire Punch, and the attack is so powerful it's actually able to send Muk flying. Thinking he has it in the bag, however, then Ash tells Muk it's time to use a Body Slam. As it spreads on wide, it falls towards Darmanitan, slamming into it from high up. When Muk slowly beats off from Darmanitan's body, Darmanitan is laying unconscious, defeated. Silver turns to sick, giving a small nod of respect it appears, before sending in his next Pokemon, Marowak. Seeing the ground type, Ash tells Muk to use another Sludge Wave. As Silver tells Marowak to use a Bone Rush to protect itself from the sludge. As the sludge then is about to lay on the ground, Ash tells Muk to use a Fire Punch but aim it at the sludge, showing that the sludge is actually highly flammable. As the attack towards Marowak, it actually surrounds it in flame. Before Muk launches another Sludge Wave, and being combined with the flame, it actually becomes more of a flaming wave. Surprised by it, Silver tells Marowak to launch a Boomerang, which actually goes through it, actually absorbing the flames, striking Muk hard. Taking the small opening, it jumps through before striking Muk with a couple of Bone Rushes, and in the end, taking it out. At return, Muk telling it did a great job, before sending in his next Pokemon, Squirtle. Silver is surprised and a bit curious. Why did Ash decide to send in a non-evolved Pokemon? Does he think typing is all that matters? However, he is gonna have to attack hard. Immediately tells Marowak to go in with a Thunder Punch. However, Ash has Squirtle go into his shell and use a Gyro Ball. Quickly dodge out of the way before landing a Water Gun from behind. This becomes a pattern, as Marowak tries to launch in a Coat-Up attack, but Gyro Ball allows Squirtle to quickly get out of the way before launching another Water Gun. Seeing the pattern, Silver has Marowak use a Boomerang, which launches the bone towards Squirtle, but as he gets away with Gyro Ball, it tells it to use a Thrash. Marowak immediately starts to launching a Fury Assault on Squirtle as that tells it to go back in his shell. The bone eventually returns to Marowak, and it uses it to swag Squirtle's shell all around, knocking it all over the place. Eventually, the Thrasher causes Marowak to become confused and actually takes the opportunity and goes in with a Gyro Ball. However, on Silver's command, Marowak slings its head into the ground, knocking away the confusion, before firing off a Thunder Punch, knocking Squirtle back hard. The attack seems to do a lot of damage, as Ash tells Squirtle to hide in his shell. Silver, thinking that Ash had given up, tells Marowak to go in close before launching another flurry of Thunder Punches. However, instead, Ash tells Squirtle to launch a Hydro Pump. As it starts spinning his shell and launching a stream of water, the water smacks into Marowak hard, knocking it back, causing it to lose its bone. Squirtle then goes in for a Skull Bash, which strikes Marowak in the gut, knocking it out. Silver is surprised, seeing that a small Pokemon be able to come up with such an interesting strategy. With that, he returns to Marowak, giving a small nod, before sending in his next Pokemon, Crobat. I tried to have Squirtle use a Water Gun, however Crobat immediately goes for a double team, confusing it, before Crobat immediately blitz away into an Acrobatics. Squirtle does it best to avoid, however the Acrobatic is way too fast and Crobat can attack him. I tried to have Squirtle use a Skull Bash, however Crobat quickly ran away before landing a Cross Poison which strikes Squirtle hard, knocking it out. After returns Squirtle, telling it did a great job, before sending in his next Pokemon, Glalie. Crobat immediately goes into another Cross Poison, however Glalie uses a double team, causing Crobat to be confused, before Glalie they started in with a Crunch. Silver had Crobat use a double team on his own, and going in with an Exeter. The copies started hitting each other, till eventually the two real ones linked the attack. It seemed to be dead even, however Crobat got out of the way quicker before going into Acrobatics. However, instead of telling Glalie to dodge it, I take Glalie to observe Crobat's movements. As they start to wear around for a bit, eventually Crobat gets close and Ash calls on a Frost Breath. The breath strikes Crobat hard, knocking him off course. Seeing the opportunity, Ash then calls on an Ice Beam, which is able to hit Crobat, start to freezing part of his wings. Seeing the disadvantage, Silver turns Crobat for now and sends in Absol. Ash tries to let Glalie go in for another Ice Beam, however Absol quickly gets out of the way before striking with a Cycle Count. The attack hits Glalie, but it instead tries to go in for a Crunch, but Glalie quickly avoids it and landing a Night Slash. Absol is clearly way too fast, as I tried to have Glalie use another Frost Breath, Silver counters it with a Blizzard. The two items collide, creating a gigantic explosion of ice and wind energy. As the move hits both Pokemon hard, Absol quickly rushes in and striking Glalie with consecutive slashes, severely weakening it, before a Night Glade from behind knocking Glalie out. And returned Glalie, telling it did a great job. However, he realizes that Silver is a far stronger trainer than he thought. Not only is he holding calculating in battle, but his Pokemon are all high level. Realizing he needs to attack hard quickly, he then in his 4 Pokemon Infernape. Silver then started to smirk, feeling that Ash finally starting to take this seriously, using a Pokemon with time advantage and being fully evolved. He then tells Apple to go in for a Psycho Cut. However, Infernape goes for a dig, dodging it before popping out of the ground with a Flamethrower. The attack hit hard, however, Apple is able to take it before trying to go in for a slash. However, Infernape quickly went out of the way before launching into a close combat. The attack hit Apple hard and fast, and eventually, Apple is able to jump out of the way, but is clearly weakened. Silver tried to finish quickly with a Blizzard, however, Infernape immediately launching into a Flare Blade, blazing straight through the eyes, striking Absol hard. And in the end, it's defeated, meaning the battle is now tied up to a 3-on-3. Silver then sent in his Crobat once again, however, Ash decided to switch and rotate into Swallow. The battle is now a battle of the flyers. As Crobat immediately launching into an acrobatic, Swallow goes in with an aerial ace. The 2 Pokemon launch each other to an aerial combat, starting to attack each other non-stop, colliding aerial ace with acrobatics, steel wings and cross poisons, both unleashing double teams on each other. Eventually, both are starting to get a bit exhausted. However, with Crobat's previous battle already on it, that is the word we wear. So when Crobat goes into acrobatics, Swallow is able to quickly get out of the way before landing a steel wing, knocking it out. Next out, however, Silver sent in Magnezone, knowing that an electric steel type is going to be the biggest problem for Swallow to face. I tried to switch it out, but Swallow refuses, telling that he's going to finish his battle. Wanting to respect his Pokemon, Ash allows Swallow to stay in. This confuses Silver. Why would they leave a Pokemon that does not have any sort of advantage against his Magnezone? However, as he eventually come to learn that Ash does not look for power or advantage, he looks for spirit. So Swallow immediately launches into a brutal assault of Aerial Ace and Steel Wing. While individually they don't do much damage, Magnezone's big lack of speed is actually a problem, seeing as Swallow quickly get away whenever Magnezone tries to go in for Discharge or Sonic Booms, and Swallow is even fast enough to avoid those Thunder Waves and Mirror Shots. It seems like Swallow is going to continue with his hit and run strategy, however, Silver refuses to do that. So when Swallow goes in close, he allows Magnezone to strike with a Thunder Wave, slowing Swallow down before the Discharge strikes it hard. Silver thinks it's over, but Swallow managed to get back up again, revealing his stubbornness. Silver is a bit surprised seeing a flying type taking a full powerful electrical attack like that and not being defeated. He tried that mantra launching another Discharge, however, Swallow quickly got away with an Aerial Ace. Ash knows that Swallow won't be able to take too much more, and thinks back on looking at the Pokemon moves he had learned, and that Swallow had gotten a new move which he believed could be perfect for this, but he needed getting close. Silver tried to manage to launch a bunch of Sonic Booms, trying to corner Swallow. Seeing the opportunity, Ash tells Swallow to charge in straight with Aerial Ace. Confused by it, Silver decided not to question it and tells Magnezone to release a Discharge. However, as the attacks try, Swallow is able to swoop in closer and closer. When it's close enough, Ash tells Swallow it's time to use Endeavor. Swallow's body starts to glow and he strikes Magnezone, seems to deliver a ton of damage. As Magnezone starts to fatigue a bit, the Discharge is finally done the job and Swallow falls defeated. Hilbert and Hilda is a bit confused by what Endeavor does, but Mystic explains that Endeavor causes the opponent to get the same amount of health as the user. And seeing how Swallow has been taking so much damage, Magnezone is on his last leg now too. Ash returns Swallow, telling it did a great job, as Silver started to crack his fist, realizing that was Ash's plan. Having Swallow take so much damage means that Endeavor will do just enough that Magnezone will basically not be able to do anything. But he also realizes that strategy would not work if it was just a normal Swallow. That Ash's Swallow put that much effort for a reason. With that, Ash in his next Pokemon, Infernape. Knowing that Magnezone won't have too much left, as Ash tries to finish off quickly with a Flamethrower, Magnezone charges and is able to pull off a Thunder Wave hitting Infernape. While Infernape got paralyzed, is able to fire off a Flamethrower, which is able to take down Magnezone. And with that, the batch is now down to a 2-on-1. And with that, Silver sent in his final Pokemon, Feraligatr. He then smirks and tells Ash that Feraligatr was the very first Pokemon he ever had, the one who started his journey, and its power will easily rival anything Ash throws at it. However, Ash just smirks, pointing out to Silver that he still has 2 Pokemon left, and that Infernape is anything but a pushover. Silver smiles, telling that might be the case. His Feraligatr's powers make that seem like nothing. With that, the battle begins, And as Inferno goes in for a dig, Feraligatr strikes the ground with an Aqua Tail, cracking it, forcing Inferno up surprisingly. As Feraligatr is charging in with a crunch, biting Inferno's arm. It turns, but Inferno is able to use a close combat to get out of the way. Inferno goes in for another close combat as Feraligatr countered with a superpower. The attack seemed to be completely even on both sides. As Inferno launches a flamethrower, Feraligatr countered with a Hydro Cannon. The attack quickly passed through the flamethrower with ease and striking Inferno hard, seeming to almost knocking it out. And with the paralysis, it even seemed to getting more dangerous to the defeated. However, just then, Inferno's flames started to grow even brighter, indicating Blaze. Silver is surprised seeing Blaze such powerful. As Ash smiles, he then tells Inferno to go in for Flare Blitz. The attack immediately soared towards Feraligatr. However, Silver smiles, telling Feraligatr to launch an Aqua Tail. And as the moves hit, it seems to be a dead even. Surprising that even with Blaze, Feraligatr's power is still too much. Silver points out that while Inferno's power is impressive, Tide Masher still allows Feraligatr at the end, and his Feraligatr will always defeat any opponent. So with that, the Aqua Tail pushes Inferno back, but as they both launch a Hydro Cannon and Flamethrower again, this time it's far more even. But in the end, the Hydro Cannon wins out, striking Inferno, and with that, Inferno falls. Surprising Ash that one of his strongest Pokemon was defeated so quickly. Ash still returns to Inferno, telling it did a great job. Realizing that he's now down to his last Pokemon, he smiles, telling Silver that this battle has been fun, but he's sure that his last Pokemon will pull through with everything he has. So with that, Ash throws out his last Pokemon, and out of it appears Totodile. Silver is shocked, seeing Ash using the pre-evolved form of his own Pokemon. Why would he do something so stupid? Silver gets a bit angry about this, but doesn't outwardly shows it, pointing out that even if they are the same species, Feraligatr's fully evolved status makes it the clear winner. However, Ash tells that doesn't matter, because he and Totodile is gonna give it everything they have. As Totodile pulls off a little dance, Feraligatr scowls at this. The battle begins, and Feraligatr goes in for a crunch, but Totodile quickly dodges out of the way when it's able to land an Ice Fang on its tail. Silver had Feraligatr using an Aqua Tail to knock it back, but then Totodile used a Waterfall, which strikes Feraligatr. With that, Totodile decided to finally time to use a Rain Dance. Then we try to rain to fall before launching a Water Pledge, which strikes Feraligatr but does not seem to do too much. Feraligatr charging in with the superpower, as Totodile quickly get away with a Waterfall. For a while now, it seems that the strategy of avoiding and striking quickly is effective on Feraligatr. While it doesn't seem to do too much, Totodile is able to stack up damage over time, and even Inferno's previous battle has caused some damage. Silver realizes this, deciding that it's enough game, and tells Feraligatr to strike with superpower. The attack slams into Totodile hard, knocking it to the ground, as he then tells Feraligatr to finish out with a Hydro Cannon. As the attack is fired, I tell Totodile to hold on with all he has. So with that, Totodile's glare starts to harden. As he holds out his hands to stop the attack, he's actually able to catch it before the guy got cry. And with that, it seems to somehow take the power off the Hydro Cannon. But that's not all. As it takes more energy, it starts to glow. And when the attack ends, out stands Croconaw. Ash is surprising that Totodile has finally evolved, but can't help but smile. Silver is sharp by this. However, Ash did not give it time to rest, as he launches a Water Pledge with Croconaw before striking with an Ice Fang on Feraligatr's shoulder. The attack seems to do a lot of damage, as Feraligatr is able to shake it off, then hold its own shoulder in damage. As Silver looks at Croconaw, he starts recognizing his own Feraligatr in it. They had the fighting spirit. With that, he smiles and tells Feraligatr it's time to finish off with a superpower. As Feraligatr charges in, Ash him up and tells Croconaw to use superpower himself. The two of them launch a fighting type attack against each other. However, being smaller allows Croconaw to quickly dodge the initial strike before striking Feraligatr far quicker. And as they deliver a finishing punch, it seems to be a dead end, but in the end, it's Feraligatr that falls. And the winner of the match is Croconaw and Ash. The crowd cheers, cheering on Ash and Croconaw's victory. As Ash rushes over to hug Croconaw, he then decides to pull off a little dance, showing that it's still the same Totodile as it always was. As Silver returns to Feraligatr, telling it did a great job, before starting walking away. As seeing this, catch up to Silver, wondering where he's going. Silver just smiles, saying that he still has the goal of taking on Team Rocket, but he sees that he's not ready for taking on the big battles just yet. But he smiles to Ash, telling that he's happy to see that other team just like Ash is taking on people like Team Rocket. And maybe, just maybe, together they can put an end to it. Ash smiles, raising out his hand to Silver, telling that the next time they meet, they're gonna have a rematch, and they can share how much they have interfered with Team Rocket's plan. Smiling at this, Silver said that he would love that, before leaving on his next journey. Once the battle was over, Ash met up with Misty, Hilbert, and Hilda once again, and they congratulated him on a battle with fun, not anything but the praise. And once the second semi-final battle was over, it was revealed that the final of the Pokemon World Tournament is going to be taking place between Ash Ketchum of Palatown in the Kanto region and Gherkin of the Chalor City Gym in the Kalos region. Ash and his friends are a bit confused about this since they never heard of a Kalos region. But Ash just gets excited that he can face a gym leader of a completely different region. So last time of the day, he does some training with the Pokemon he's planning on bringing into this final battle. But that's when Hilbert and Hilda meets up with him. And with that, the three friends start talking and reminiscing about their time in the Unova region. All the battles they fought, all the adventures they had, of all the different Pokemon and trainers they have met. As they talk, Hilbert explained that he found this adventure so much fun that he doesn't want to stay still anymore. He wants to continue to travel. He wants to see more regions. That's why, after the tournament is over, he has decided he's gonna head to the Johto region. Hilda smiled to her brother, explaining that she had found the journey with Ash and Hilbert just as much fun, and she wished to travel more to improve her performances in her musical. And that is why, after the tournament, she decided she's gonna head to the home region in order to take part in Pokemon contests. After she had some talk with Tom, she found that Pokemon contest would be a fun experience and she really wanted to try it out. The two trainers then turned to Ash, asking what he's going to do. Ash explained that after the tournament, he is likely going to return home to Palatown, meet with his mom, hang with his Pokemon, and figure out where he's going to go next. Because no matter what happened at the end of the tournament, he's still on his goal to becoming a Pokemon Master. However, as they talk, three people approaches them. The two young boys and a young girl with the names of Nate, Rose, and Hugh. They explained that they recently had gotten their starter Pokemon from Bianca, and the gang understand that that was the errand she was sent here to do. However, the boys are excited to meet with Ash and Hilbert because the two of them are inspiration to them. A bit confused by it, Nate explained that he always wanted to become a Pokemon trainer, but he wasn't sure if he really had the ability to do so. But when he saw Hilbert back in the Unova League, he felt so inspired that he wanted to be able to do the same. Hilbert is flattered by it and encourages Nate to do his best. And once he has become strong, Hilbert will be more than happy to have a battle with Nate. Something Nate is very happy about. Hilda asks Rose what she's, and while Rose is not interested in Pokemon battle, she would like to travel along with her friends in order to become a better trainer. Even if battling not with her path, she still wants to live a life with Pokemon. Hilda can respect that as a fellow trainer who does not particularly interested in battle, and encouraging Rose to do her best. With Hugh, he's looking at Ash and bows to him, thanking him profusely. Ash is a bit confused by it, but that's when Hugh tells him about her sister. Growing up, his sister had always been close with her Purrloin. The two of them were inseparable. But one day, Team Plasma came to their hometown and took Purrloin away. His sister was sad for days, wouldn't leave her room and not start crying. He promised that when he became a trainer, he was going to get it back. However, that changed after the Unova League final. During the entire commotion with Plasma, Ash and his friends were able to stop them. And afterward, Team Plasma returned. But it was not the same grounds that had taken Purrloin away. But it was a man with green hair. He returned Purrloin and told him that he is sorry as the king of the Plasma for what his people had done. You questioned him why suddenly he started changing his mind. The man just smiled, saying that a close friend of him taught him the importance between the bond of human and Pokemon. Hugh had a feeling that it was about Ash, saying that he seemed to be the main trainer who stopped Team Plasma. Ever since then, Hugh had wanted to become just like Ash, a trainer who truly loves Pokemon and will always stand up for the bond between them. Ash smiled, encouraging Hugh to do that. As long as he have a heart that loves Pokemon, he'd be able to go far. The three even showed off their starter Pokemon, with Rose having Snivy, Nate having Tepig, and Hugh having Oshawott. The three of them smiled, telling Ash, Hilbert, and Hilda that they're going to do their best, and their friends encouraging them. And so, the following day, it's finally time for the final battle of the Pokemon World Tournament between Gherkin of Chalor City and Ash of Palatown. I take a deep breath and start to think of what strategy he should use here. He had noted that for the entire tournament, Gherkin have only used Lucario, Blaziken, and another Pokemon he's not familiar with called Pangoro. After doing some research, he learns that all of them are fighting types, revealing to him that Gherkin is a fighting type specialist. So with that, Ash decided that his third Pokemon is going to be Staraptor. Gherkin stays calm and then in his first Pokemon, Pangoro. As realizing that he's gonna have the chance of battling a Cold's Pokemon for the first time, getting excited about it. As the battle begins, Ash has Staraptor quickly go in with Steel Wing. However, Pangoro quickly catches it and delivers a foul play, choosing Staraptor's own power against it. Ash then has Staraptor going for Air Lay, but as Pangoro tries to use foul play again, Staraptor quickly dashes out of the way and lands the attack. Gherkin is pressed, but then tells Pangoro to use Hammer Arm while Staraptor counters it with Steel Wing. The attack seems to be dead even, but that is when Gherkin tells Pangoro to use a Vital Throw, and doing so, he throws Staraptor away before Pangoro rushes in with a Thunder Punch. The attack is able to land, doing a lot of damage to Staraptor. However, Ash refuses to give up and tells Staraptor to use Close Combat. It then becomes a clash between Thunder Punch and Close Combat, but with Pangoro's Dark typing, it seems to be taking just as much damage as Staraptor is. As they both are forced back, both of them seem to take a ton of damage, but when Pangoro goes in for another Thunder Punch, Ash has Staraptor use Air Blade to quickly veer out of the way before rushing in with a Brave Bird. After the attack lands, Pangoro had taken too much damage and then he falls on his back, unable to continue. Ash getting excited, seeing that he has managed to get past Gherkin's third Pokemon, and Gherkin even complimenting Ash on his Staraptor's power and speed, but telling Ash that would not be enough. With that, Gherkin sent in his next Pokemon, Marshall. Being far more familiar with this Pokemon, Ash does not switch out and tells Staraptor to go in with Aerial Ace. However, Gherkin has Marshall quickly counter it with a Bullet Punch, which is able to push the attack back before it strikes with a Cross Chop, doing a ton of damage. As realizing that Staraptor won't have much left, tells Staraptor to use Brave Bird. However, as the attack goes in, Gherkin has Marshall stay calm and is able to land an Ice Punch. As the two moves collide, in the end, with Staraptor already taking damage, plus recoil from Brave Bird, plus damage from Ice Punch is too much and it gets taken down. Ash realizes that Machamp definitely have power, but he's gonna have to counter that with speed. So with that, Ash in his next Pokemon, Sceptile. Machamp immediately goes in for a Cross Chop, however, Sceptile dodges out of the way with a quick attack before launching a Leaf Blade. The attack hit Machamp hard, but then Machamp tried to go in for the Ice Punch. However, Sceptile quickly dodges out of the way before striking again with Leaf Blade. This continued for a while, seeing that Machamp getting pushed back, Gherkin had Machamp stand still, thinking that he had an opening. Ash tells Sceptile to launch a Dragon Claw. However, while the attack lands, Gherkin tells Machamp to use Revenge. The attack strikes Sceptile hard. Surprised by this sudden move, Ash encourages Sceptile to keep going. And with that, Sceptile gets back up, and Gherkin tells Machamp to go in for a Cross Chop as Sceptile counters with a Dragon Claw. As the two moves collide, they seem to be holding each other up close. Gherkin tries to have Machamp fall back to charge up an Ice Punch, but Sceptile holds onto it. Gherkin is a bit confused why Sceptile is doing that, but he then noticing that the seeds on his back start to glow. Realizing it, Gherkin tells Machamp to launch Sceptile back with a Revenge. While it does so successfully, it's too late and Ash tells Sceptile to fire off a Solar Beam. The move sword strikes towards Machamp, him striking it directly in the face. This is enough to disorient it, so a combination of Quick Attack and Leaf Blade is enough to take down Machamp. Ash is happy that Sceptile is able to push through. However, Gherkin does not seem to be done yet. And so, Gherkin sent in his third Pokemon, which is also another Calls Pokemon, Hawlucha. Being unfamiliar with it, however, seeing that it's clearly a bird, Ash suspects it might be a fighting flying type, telling Sceptile to stay on guard. As Gherkin then tells Hawlucha to go in for a Power-Up Punch, Ash is confused by the attack, but tells Sceptile to countering it with the Dragon Claw. The attack seems to be dead even. However, then Hawlucha jumps into the air and Gherkin tells it to use Flying Press. The move is able to strike King Sceptile hard, and while disoriented, Hawlucha charging in with another Power Punch, we seem to do even more now, revealing that Power Punch also boosts Hawlucha's attack every time it's used. After that, Sceptile charging in with another Leaf Blade. Hawlucha quickly dodges out of the way before charging up a Sky Attack. Seeing this, Ash has Sceptile charging in with his Quick Attack and a Dragon Claw. However, Hawlucha then jumps into the air quickly before swooping down with the attack, which strikes Sceptile hard, knocking it out. With two Pokemon down, Ash decided time to send in some defense power and send in Snorlax. Gherkin is a bit surprised by this, as two previous choices made somewhat sense. Staraptor for typing and Sceptile due to speed. but Snorlax does not have speed and is a normal type. Wondering what Ash is thinking, however, he doesn't think about it too much and tells Hawlucha to shut up with a power-up punch. He attacks twice Snorlax, but he seems to be able to take it somewhat before Ash tells him to use Ship Away. The attack quickly strikes Hawlucha, forcing it back. As Gurgit tries to have Hawlucha going for a sky attack, Ash has Snorlax launch a heavy slam. The heavy slam is able to get in close before sky attack is launched, and when they collide, it's Snorlax's power that wins out, knocking Hawlucha to the ground, but not defeating it. Ash tries to have Snorlax going for another Ship Away. However, Gurgit have Hawlucha using U-turn, and as the attack lands, it forces Hawlucha back, sending in Heracross. Heracross is able to take the Ship Away before Gurgit tells it to unleash a Brick Break. The attack seems to land doing a lot of damage, but then Ash tells Snorlax to use an Ice Punch. The attack is able to land, forcing Heracross back. Deciding not to wait any more time, Gurgit have Heracross flying quickly with Air Lace, striking Snorlax over and over again, before falling out with a barrage of Brick Breaks. Realizing that Snorlax won't be able to take too much, I tell it to use rest, so Snorlax falls asleep, getting all of his health back. Realizing he can't waste time, Gurgit have Heracross unleashing a bunch of Brick Breaks and Air Lace over and over, even firing off a bunch of Pin Missiles. The attack seems to severely weaken Snorlax, determined by facial expression. However, when Heracross lands a brick on Snorlax's head, it suddenly wakes up, cranky. Seeing this, I tell Snorlax to use an Ice Punch, and the attack strikes Heracross with tremendous force, forcing it all the way back. I tell Snorlax to use a Ship Away, but Gurgit tells it to use Endure. The attack works, and Heracross is able to hold on, but apparently just barely. As Heracross tries to fire up another Pin Missile, Snorlax quickly delivers a heavy slam, taking it out. Gurgit is surprised that Heracross fell to Snorlax. That seems the only kind cranky when woken up. Realizing that he should not run into Snorlax anymore, then in Hawlucha again. It immediately starts to use a bunch of power punches, while Snorlax counters them with Ship Away. However, Hawlucha's speed allows her to outspeed Snorlax and is able to strike multiple times. As Snorlax seems about to get tired, Ash thinks he should call for another rest. However, that is when Hawlucha goes in for another flying press. But when the move strikes, he seems to doing a lot of damage. Being confused by it, I wonder why he suddenly did so much damage when he thought it was a flying type move. But that is when Gurgit decided to point out that flying press is a special move, seeing that it does not just do damage of flying, but it also does damage of fighting, using both types in delivering a damage. So it's not only super effective against its grab type step type, but it's also super effective against its normal type Snorlax. Realizing this, I tried to Snorlax go for rest immediately. However, Hawlucha started running in with another power punch, which hits Snorlax hard, knocking it out. Ash realizes that Gurgit advantage of having Pokemon from a completely new region to him is about to get too much, so he decided he needs to take down Hawlucha now and any other Pokemon from other regions if he has any. So with that, he sent in his next Pokemon, Garchomp. Impressed by seeing such a powerful dragon type, Gurgit believes it's gonna be a hard match. So with that, Gurgit tells Hawlucha to launch a power punch as Garchomp countering it with Dual Shock. The attack seems to be dead even, but as Hawlucha is about to go in for another flying press, Ash had Garchomp catch it with a crunch. Thinking he is in the perfect position, Gurgit tells Hawlucha to deliver a bunch of power punches strictly to Garchomp's head. While he does so successfully, Ash then tells Garchomp it's time to launch Hawlucha away with a Draco Meteor. Being literally not able to get away from Garchomp's jaw, Hawlucha is forcibly blasted away with the meteors, and as they slam into the ground, Hawlucha is severely weakened. As it's about to get up, Ash tells Garchomp to go in with another Dual Shock, and he quickly blitz over and strike it twice, allowing Hawlucha to finally fall. Gurgit realizes that Garchomp is definitely a powerhouse, but he had to be more careful. So with that, he sent in his next Pokemon, Blaziken. Garchomp immediately goes in for a dig, but Blaziken is able to jump out of the way as Garchomp appears on the ground, before striking with a Blaze Kick. The attack doesn't do too much, as Garchomp goes in for another Dual Shock, but Blaziken gets out of the way with Quick Attack, before striking it with a Sky Uppercut. The attack seems to do a lot, as Garchomp tries to fire off another dig. But just then, Blaziken fires a flamethrower into the hole, starting to hurt Garchomp over time. Once Garchomp is able to land at the dig, it's now in the perfect position for Blaziken delivering a Sky Uppercut, forcing Garchomp up in the air. While after that Garchomp plays himself out to go for another Draco Meteor, Blaziken is able to quickly dash in and strike him with Quick Attack before delivering a Blaze Kick, hits strictly above Garchomp's head, which knocks it to the ground. And when the smoke clears, Garchomp is defeated. After realizing that Blaziken might just be the toughest Pokemon he had faced thus far, he decided to send in one of his most reliable fighters, in Charizard. Misty, who in the ground, realized it's a similar situation, that Charizard had already battled Blaziken before, but was not able to defeat it. But this time, however, Charizard has grown stronger, and might now actually stand a chance. Charizard, also realizing this situation, is more than ready to battle, and redeeming himself from his last loss. The two start by launching flamethrowers at each other with full strength, but while they're even, Charizard has the advantage of being able to fly. As Blaziken tries to charge in with a quick attack, Charizard countering it with a Dragon Tail. The attack forces the Blaziken back to the ground, but as Blaziken drops up, it's able to land a Blaze Kick. As Charizard is about to veer around, Blaziken goes for another Blaze Kick, and Charizard counters it with a Wing Attack. The attack seems to be dead even, but Blaziken launches in with a Sky Uppercut with strikes. Charizard tries to knock it back with a Dragon Tail, but Blaziken dodges out of the way with Quick Attack before launching another Blaze Kick. The attack seems to wear down Charizard over time, so I tell Charizard to stay calm and stand still. Charizard does so. Gurgan had been surprised by it, but decided to go in for another Sky Uppercut. While the attack lands, that is what Ash wanted, and tells Charizard to grab Blaziken. Doing so, Ash tells Charizard it's time to use a Seismic Toss. Charizard then flies up in the air, starting to spin around, before launching the Seismic Toss, knocking Blaziken into the ground. And in the end, Blaziken falls. Ash is so happy for Charizard, and Charizard is more than happy to finally beat a Blaziken after so many years. But with that out of the way, Gurgan sends out his final Pokemon, Lucario. Unlike his other Pokemon, Lucario is far more menacing. It sits there, its aura pulsing all over. Charizard could easily tell that Lucario is far stronger than Blaziken. However, he refuses to allow that to defeat him. So when Lucario launches a Dark Bolt, Charizard counters with a Flamethrower, seeming to be dead even. But as Charizard tries to go in for a Wing Attack, Gurgan have Lucario jump out of the way before firing off an Aura Sphere which hit Charizard hard. Charizard tries to go in for a Dragon Tail, but Lucario counters it with a Bone Rush. Seeing that Charizard is completely outmatched, after that Charizard chooses a Seismic Toss again. However, Lucario veers quickly out of the way before striking Charizard back in the head with the Dark Pulse. And with the amount of damage he already taken, Charizard eventually falls. And returns Charizard, complimenting our battle well fought, and telling him to leave the rest to him. Gurgan that smiles at that, compliment that all of his Pokemon he used so far has been rated well, and all of them seem to have immense trust in the trainer. Ash smiles at that, thanking Gurgan for his compliment, but telling that all of his Pokemon are just as great. But with that, Ash deciding to end it with his final Pokemon, Pikachu. Gurgan can easily see that Pikachu has even more trust in Ash than any other Pokemon, knowing that this man is gonna be one of power. The two immediately begins, with Lucario firing off a Flash Cannon, while Pikachu counters with a Thunderbolt. Pikachu rushes in with Quick Attack, but Gurgan stops it with the Bone Rush. As the attack strikes, Pikachu is forced back as Lucario fires off an Aura Sphere, but Pikachu uses Quick Attack to get out of the way before using Iron Tail. The attack managed to land on Lucario, it forces Pikachu up in the air, and as Lucario fires off a Dark Bolt, Pikachu counters with a Thunderbolt. The attack seemed to be completely even, and Gurgan and Ash both realized that both their Pokemon is gonna have to push even further. So the two of them continue having clashes. Aura Sphere and Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon and Electro Ball. Pikachu uses Iron Tail to counter Bone Rush like Swordplay. Quick Attack to avoid Dark Pulses. Eventually, both of them launches another Electro Ball and Aura Sphere at each other, and both attacks strikes, but both Pokemon are still standing. Ash realizes that the battle is going to continue for a while, and that he needs to push even further. Gurgan on the other realizes Ash is definitely not just an average trainer. The trust that he has in his Pokemon are so extraordinary that he might need to stop revealing all of his cards. He looks at Ash, telling Ash that he has battled well this far, and it's clear that he has full faith in all of his Pokemon. Ash thanks Gurgan for the compliments, but is a bit confused about what he's leading. Gurgan then becomes serious, telling Ash that the trust between people and Pokemon can lead Pokemon to do incredible things that they could never do on their own. And now it's time that Ash sees that firsthand. And so, Gurgan raises up his arm, revealing a special glove with a mysterious colored stone at the end. At the same time, Lucario lifts his arm up, revealing a bracelet with another stone. This one primarily orange in color. But then, Gurgan lays two fingers on the stone, saying some sort of motto. Show them now what two hearts becoming one can do. Lucario, Mega Evolve. All of a sudden, energy burst out of the two stones, and Lucario is engulfed in a mysterious light. But when the lights decide, Lucario stands there, completely transformed. Ash, Pikachu, and the audience are completely shocked, not even knowing what it is they're looking at. Ash wondering if Lucario evolved somehow, but when he looks at the Pokédex, it doesn't have any data on it. He's completely surprised. Gurgen reveals to Ash that this is a phenomenon that was originally discovered in the Kalos region, a phenomenon only accessible to trainer Pokemon with strong bonds. It's known as Mega Evolution, and the opponent in front of him now is Mega Lucario. Ash is completely shocked. He had never heard of any Mega Evolution. Gurgen decides that now he's going to visit the power and tell Lucario to use Aura Sphere. The attack launches quickly and fast. Pikachu just barely gets away with a quick attack, but when the attack strikes the wall, it actually leaves a gigantic crater, surprising everyone. And realizing that this power-up is far too much for anything, that any one hit could lead to Pikachu being defeated. Realizing that, he decided to have Pikachu starting in with quick attack, but Lucario's speed is now unmatched. It's able to keep up with Pikachu even in quick attack. I decided to try to match it with power and tell Pikachu to use a Thunderbolt, but while the attack lands, Lucario is able to shake it off. Lucario then goes in for Bone Rush, and Pikachu counter with an Iron Tail, but Bone Rush power has become so strong it actually forces Pikachu back. It seems that Gurgen is completely in control now, and while he fires off a Dark Pulse, I tell Pikachu to use the Thunderbolt Counter Shield. While the attack does not seem to blow it away completely, it does seem to hold Dark Pulse back. Being surprised by it, Gurgen tells Lucario to stop it before launching a Flash Cannon. Seeing where it's going, I tell Pikachu starts in with quick attack to quickly get behind Lucario and latch onto his back. I tells Pikachu to launch a Thunderbolt. The attack strikes Lucario hard, engulfing his entire body in electricity. Ash and Pikachu continue to push forward with all he has, and Gurgen can't help but to smile at the trust they two share. But then he snaps his eyes open, telling that this is ending now, and tell Lucario to flip Pikachu away before launching an Aura Sphere. Lucario does so, and starts charging up the Aura Sphere, but I tell Pikachu to countering it with Electro Ball. The two move sword to each other, but I then tell Pikachu to charge it up with a Thunderbolt, and with that, the Supercharged Electro Ball and Aura Sphere collide with one another, seeming to create a stalemate. Two spheres of electricity and aura smashing against each other. However, in the end, the Aura Sphere is able to break through and strike Pikachu hard, knocking it back towards Ash. I quickly catching it, but causing it to fall to the ground, and Pikachu is defeated. And with that, the winner of the Pokemon World Tournament is revealed to be Gurgen of Chalor City. The audience claps and cheers, completely mesmerized by the performance, as Pikachu looks up at Gurgen and Lucario, but are surprised when they see Lucario reverting into the original form. Being a bit surprised by it, I rush over to Gurgen, questioning about it. Gurgen reveals that Mega Evolution not last forever like regular evolution, that it only will last as long as the battle happens. Being more fascinated by it before, Gurgen comes into Ash that all of his Pokemon have fought well at this point, and he will be proud of every single one of them, as saying that he always is, and with that, the two of them shake hands, and the Pokemon World Tournament has come to its end. At the end, the victory ceremony is held, and Ash receives second place, while Gurgen receives first. With that out of the way, it's finally time for all the gym leaders to start returning home to their respective gyms. Outside, Ash, Hilbert, Hilda, and Misty are once again meeting up, but realizing that this is about to be their goodbye, as Hilbert and Hilda are taking a flight to the Sinnoh region so they think it's a separate flight to Johto and Hoenn, while Ash and Misty are taking a flight to Kanto regions of Vermilion City, where they then get split up to go to Cerulean and Pallet Town respectively. At the airport, Misty and Ash's flight takes place first, so with that, the two of them say goodbye to Hilbert and Hilda, with Hilbert and Hilda taking a long goodbye and promising each other to meet again. With that, Ash and Misty board their flight and head back home to the Kanto region. And once they land in Viridian City, the two of them look at each other with smiles in their eyes, wishing each other good luck, before going their separate ways, returning home. For Ash, he eventually returned to Pallet Town, where he gets to meet his mom and all of his Pokemon before figuring out where his next journey is going to take him. And that was the final part of my Pokemon Black and White rewrite. I really hope you enjoyed this series, and if you liked the story so far, please like and subscribe so you can see more What If videos in the future, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!